Shalom, my name is Adam and I welcome you to the parable of the vineyard. Every day, Yahuah is waking up a remnant, a group of people who are coming out of deceptions, realizing our walk is to consist of faith and obedience to his righteous commands. Each week, we read through and examine a portion of the Torah, allowing the Spirit of the Most High to guide, teach, and open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of his law. Join us as we seek to be refined by his word, preparing ourselves for the return of our King of Kings, being faithful and obedient, walking in his way, truth, and life. And Shabbat Shalom and welcome back, brothers and sisters, to the Parable of the Vineyard YouTube Torah portion live study. My name is Adam, your host, and I welcome you. We are at week 2 in Genesis, and that is the Torah portion Noach, which is Genesis 6, verse 8 through 11:32, and there's a lot to cover in this portion. Of course, we have Noah, the ark, the flood, the covenant, the rainbow, the real reason for the rainbow, genealogies, Nimrod, Babel, and we get the birth of Avraham. So lots to cover in this portion. Let's get started with a little bit of prayer and ask the Most High to bless us as we study his word. Heavenly Father, Yahuah, we just come before you, and we thank you for the opportunity to study your word in these last days. And we just pray that you open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of your Torah, that we may learn thereby, may grow, and continue to walk in your path, the straight and narrow one, being obedient to your ways. We love you, we bless you, and Shabbat Shalom to you. Thank you for the Shabbat, of course, as well. Amen and Amen. Okay, so those of you that joined us last week, you got a little taste of the word audio. Just really quickly, just going to preface it each week as we get started, because not everybody joins us every week. The word audio project is a project that I was commissioned, myself and a few others were commissioned to do. Long story short, we're basically taking the Sefer, and we are recording it in a studio production quality, dramatized with background music, with sound effects, the whole nine. And we're doing 3 versions of it. One version is just me narrating the whole thing. The second version is the same one, me narrating the whole thing with sound effects and background music. That's the version we're going to have right now for our readings, essentially. And the third version, it's going to take a long time. We're going to have different voices, all voices from our community, from people that are able to come down and record their voice for a part, for like all the different parts. So that's gonna be the big part of the project. So we're gonna have 3 versions. We're gonna be listening to version 2 tonight, which will essentially be the backbone of the project, and kind of the direction of the project. So instead of me reading the scripture live for you, I'm going to share with you the recordings that we're doing as we get them going. If you're interested in finding out more, we should have Genesis up. It should be any day now. You can go to the Parable of the Vineyard homepage here. They actually changed it. The recommended channels used to be here, but now it's all the way at the bottom, and you'll see recommended channels down here. You'll see it's the word audio. You can go here, you can subscribe, and we will upload these all for free on here, and we'll also have a website that we'll upload them to, that you can get all that for free and listen to it as you will. So, all right, let's that's not where I wanted to go. Let's get started. So I'm going to play Genesis 6 for you. It will read the first 8 verses, which we read last week, but the portion starts at verse 9, so we're kind of just, let's just go. Enough for me.
Bereshith, Genesis chapter 6. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them women of all which they chose. And Yahuah said, My ruach shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were Nephilim in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of Elohim came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. The same became giants and tyrants, which were of ancient times, men of infamy. And Yahuah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And Yahuah repented that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And Yahuah said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for I repent that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahuah. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with Elohim. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before Elohim, and the earth was filled with violence. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And Elohim said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make you an ark of gopher wood. Room shall you make in the ark, and shall pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which ye shall make of it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A window shall you make to the ark, and in a cubit shall you finish it above. And the door of the ark you shall set it in the side thereof. With the lower, second, and third stories shall you make it. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. From under heaven and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with you I establish my covenant, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons and your woman and your sons' women with you. And every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shall you bring into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind. 2 of every sort shall come unto you, to keep them alive. And take unto you of all food that is eaten, and you shall gather it to you, and it shall be for food for you and for them. Thus did Noah according to all that Elohim commanded him, so did he.
Okay, so that was chapter 6. And so we had a little repeat of last week with the fallen angels coming down, mating with women, bearing the big giants, our whole earth corrupting its ways. And this is the result of sin. This is the result of iniquity, of wickedness, is the destruction. Yahuah was like, I got to start over. Everything had been corrupted. So this is what it leads to. So one thing we're gonna do, or as you know, we like to cross-reference Jubilees, Jasher, and also something I've been reading recently is the Targums. Now, the Targums you got to be careful with, because what the Targums are, it's another translation. It's an Aramaic translation of the scriptures. However, it also has rabbinic commentary. I could care less about the rabbinic commentary. What I'm interested in is another translation, because I think a good Berean, or someone that is really studious of the word in these last days, is going to study the Masoretic, which the Masoretic is like the KJV, the Sefer, the ESV, whatever. Most versions you're familiar with are probably Masoretic text. The Septuagint is another amazing text to study. And the Targums is, again, an Aramaic version. The Septuagint was the Greek manuscript. The Targums is an Aramaic manuscript. You can also search out the Samaritan Pentateuch, That's the Samaritan version of the Torah. And each of them, you can kind of just get a better idea of what's really going on. It's the same thing we see like with the Gospels. You've got 4 accounts telling the same story, but sometimes from a different angle, or maybe different translation, or different words were used. And some, like the book of John may be clearer on one topic, but more obscure on another, where the, book of Matthew may be clearer. And so that's kind of the best way I can explain to you why we're going to read from different versions. But a couple of things in chapter 6 that I found in the Targum was pretty interesting. The Targum reads, "These are the genealogies of the race of Noah. Noah was a just man, complete in good works in his generation, and in the fear of Yahuah walked Noah." And another thing in the Targum it read, it was kind of interesting. It says, "Go you unto the river Pishon, and take from thence a precious stone, and fix it in the ark to illuminate you." So it was like, that was going to be like the interior cabin light, was this precious stone. So, hey, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. One thing to really consider, when talking about this, when we read this story about Noah, is something that Messiah said, and probably you already know where I'm going with this, but Luke 17:26-32 says, "And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of a Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until that day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also, as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted and builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day shall be on the housetop, and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. Remember Lot's wife." So don't turn back, right? But, I also find this passage really interesting, is that, some of us are waiting for the stock market to crash, and the lights to turn off, and the stores to be empty of food, and everybody's killing each other, and then Yahusha's going to come. Well, this kind of says that life's going to be going on as we know it. Again, they're eating, they're drinking, they're marrying, giving in marriage. Right here, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted and builded, and then everything happened. But point being is, as in the days of Noah, as we saw, only the hearts of men was continuously evil. And, we have to get the core of what that really means. And we know that the Torah tells us what's good and what's right, and so if people are walking contrary to that, even and that's what's so devastating, is what even people that seem to be really caring and nice and that are stuck in modern day churchianity, when you're not keeping the commandments of the Most High, you're not walking in His Torah, you're walking contrary to Him, and you're doing what's evil in His sight. Even if you're like, that's what Messiah says, many, he says many, look at that word, many means most of the people will come to me in that day saying, "Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name cast out devils, and in your name do many wonderful works?" So maybe they were missionaries, maybe they were they did food drives and food banks for for poor people, which is all good stuff, right? And it is part of the Torah. But if they're not keeping His Torah, like they're not keeping Shabbat, they're not keeping His feast days, they're not keeping His righteous judgments, His righteous rulings, they're not doing what's right in His eyes. And it's going to be a very rude awakening for a lot of those people when He says, "Away from me, you transgressors of the Torah." And so anyways, praise be to Yah that He's given us those eyes and ears to see and hear. But let us have pity on our loved ones, friends, families, coworkers, even if they mock you and insult you and say all manner of evil thing against you. What does Yahusha say? "Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for so did they persecute the prophets that were before you," right? Listen, there's very few times in history where doing the Torah was mainstream. I mean, maybe in the days of David, and maybe in the days of Solomon before, he went the wrong way. But outside of that, I mean, look at most of the time, doing the commandments of Yahuah was like against the grain. Look at all the prophets' days. Look at Jeremiah. Look at Ezekiel. Look at Daniel. Look at, look at Messiah's day and the apostles. They were all doing what? They're all busy keeping the commandments of men. What are our friends and families doing? They're either busy being atheists and non-believers, or they're busy, keeping the commandments of men and going into, these buildings with these symbols of a male reproductive organ sticking on the top of the buildings. Doing what? Not keeping his commandments. Anyways, I'm going off on a rough tangent here, but I don't know. I'm excited to be surrounded by people like you that lets me know that I'm not nuts. And that Yahuah really is doing something in these last days in bringing his remnant back to his Torah. And I just want to say that I hate the word proud, but I'm going to say that word just so you know what I mean. I am proud of you that in the midst of all that's going on in this world, that you were able to hearken to the voice of the Most High calling you back to his ways. Certainly all glory to the Most High, because without him calling us back, we would just been given over to our lusts and our passions and our ignorance and whatnot. So the glory is to him, but I do believe that there is something in you and us that he saw that allowed us to do that allowed him to take away the blinders from us. So anyways, okay, so let's keep going. So that's one thing to think about in the days of Noah, with all the wickedness and violence and deceit and treachery. Let's read also a couple passages from the book of Jasher, because Jasher really fills in some holes here. Now, I've heard from some of you, and some of you that have written to me are very near and dear to my heart, and I consider you very close, family, that have some concerns about the book of Jasher. One of you in particular, I think you've really spurred me to do a write-up on this, and I feel very called to defend the book of Jasher, because I do believe it's true. There may be some fantastic things in this book that you're just like, what? Thanks, Ty. But I really believe the book of Jasher is the book that's mentioned in the scriptures, and there's a lot of misunderstandings about the book that I think are really easily cleared up. You can really get swept away by a teacher that's like, oh yeah, the book of Jasher, see this contradiction, see that contradiction, but it's very surface level stuff. But if you know your scripture pretty well and you cross-reference with other books like Jubilees and whatnot, you'll actually find that the book of Jasher tells the very same story, but maybe sometimes from a different angle. It's just like the Gospels. One account, you've got the thief, both thieves on the cross. They're both railing at Yahusha, but then in the other gospel, one thief is railing and the other thief is repentant. You're just like, okay, so we just throw out the gospels? No, of course not. We just got two angles from the same story in a different perspective. So anyways, so I might do a study on the book of Jasher as a whole and kind of go over the quote unquote debunkings of it. Jasher chapter 5, we're going to read verses 5 through 36. And all who followed Yahuah died in those days, before they saw the evil which Elohim declared to do upon the earth. So before the flood came, all the righteous men started to die of natural causes so that they wouldn't be part of this destruction. And after the lapse of many years, in the 480th year of the life of Noah, when all those men who followed Yahuah had died away from amongst the sons of men, and only Methuselah was left, Elohim said unto Noah and Methuselah, saying, Speak ye, and proclaim to the sons of men, saying, Thus saith Yahuah, Return from your evil ways, and forsake your works, and Yahuah will repent of the evil that he declared to do to you, so that it should not come to pass. For thus saith Yahuah, Behold, I give you a period of 120 years, which I believe is actually the correct understanding of when it says here, for his days shall be 120 years. I believe that this was actually, or where is it? But his days shall be 120 years. Where is it? Okay. All right. I lost it already. Anyways, well, it said in Genesis 6, it said, and his days shall be 120 years. I believe that this is the 120-year period that you're about to see that Elohim gave to Noah and Methuselah to preach the truth, and if man would repent within those 120-year time frame, he would not cut them off. So I give you a period of 120 years. If you will turn to me and forsake your evil ways, then will I also turn away from the evil which I told you, and it shall not exist, saith Yahuwah. And Noah and Methuselah spoke all the words of Yahuwah to the sons of men, day after day, constantly speaking to them. Now, what's interesting about this, talking about the book of Jasher being true, Noah, preacher of righteous. So, in 2 Peter, it said, 2 Peter 2:5 says, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness. And the only place that you see that Noah is a preacher of righteousness, Jasher. And Noah and Methuselah spoke all the words of Yahuwah to the sons of men, preacher of righteousness, day after day, constantly speaking to them. But the sons of men would not hearken to them, nor incline their ears to their words, and they were stiff-necked. And Yahuwah granted them a period of 120 years, saying, if they will return, then will Elohim repent of the evil, so as to not destroy the earth. Noah, the son of Lamech, refrained from taking a wife in those days to beget children, for he said, surely now Elohim will destroy the earth, wherefore then will I beget children? And Noah was a just man. He was perfect in his generation. And Yahuwah chose him to raise up seed from his seed upon the face of the earth. And Yahuwah said unto Noah, take unto thee a wife, and beget children, for I have seen thee righteous before me in this generation. And thou shalt raise up seed, and thy children with you, in the midst of the earth. And Noah went and took a wife, and he chose Naamah, the daughter of Enoch, and she was 580 years old. And Noah was 490 years old, and when he took Naamah for a wife, and Naamah conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Japheth, saying, Elohim has enlarged me in the earth. And she conceived again and bare a son, and he called his name Shem, saying, Elohim has made me a remnant to raise up seed in the midst of the earth. And Noah was 502 years old when Naamah bare Shem, and the boys grew up and went in the ways of Yahuwah, in all that Methuselah and Noah their father taught them. And Lamech, the father of Noah, died in those days, yet verily he did not go with all of his heart in the ways of his father, and he died in the 195th year in the life of Noah. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And all the sons of men who knew Yahuwah died in that year before Yahuwah brought evil upon them. For Yahuwah willed them to die so as to not behold the evil that Elohim would bring upon their brothers and relatives, as he has so declared to do. In that time Yahuwah said to Noah and Methuselah, stand forth and proclaim to the sons of men all the words that I spoke to you in those days. Peradventure they may turn from their evil ways, and I will repent of the evil and will not bring it. And this just makes so much sense to me, that before Yahuwah would destroy everything, that he would give them a chance, a true chance of turning back, 120 years even. And Noah and Methuselah stood forth and said in the ears of the sons of men all that Elohim had spoken concerning them. But the sons of men would not hearken, neither would they incline their ears to all their declarations. And it was after this that Yahuwah said to Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, on account of their evil deeds, and behold, I will destroy the earth. And do thou take unto thee gopher wood, and go to a certain place, and make a large ark, and place it in that spot. And thus shalt thou make it, 300 cubits its length, 50 cubits broad, and 30 cubits high. So this is all the same. There you go. Verse 35. I'm just skipping the stuff that's redundant in Genesis. Then Noah took the 3 daughters of Eliakim, the son of Methuselah, for wives for his sons, as Yahuwah commanded Noah. So, the thought process that giants survived by one of the wives of the sons of Noah. I don't think that's right, but we'll go over that another time. And it was at that time that Methuselah, son of Enoch, died. 960 years old was he at his death. All right, so let's move on to chapter 7. Lots to go over. I love the music on this chapter. It's good stuff. By the way, you may want to get the full effect, you may want to put some headphones on or turn it up a little bit. It's good stuff.
Bereshith, Genesis, Chapter 7. And Yahuah said unto Noah, Come you and all your house into the ark, for you have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast ye shall take to you by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female, of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth, for yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according unto all that Yahuah commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons, and his woman, and his sons' women with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creeps upon the earth, there went in 2 and 2 unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as Elohim had commanded Noah. And it came to pass, after 7 days, that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, and the 17th day thereof, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. In the selfsame day entered Noah, and Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's woman, and the 3 women of his sons with them into the ark. They, and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. And they went in unto Noah into the ark 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as Elohim had commanded him. And Yahuah shut him in. And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bore up the ark, and it was lift up above the earth. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth. And the ark went upon the face of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth. And all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl, and of cattle, and of beast, and of every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land, died. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and of the creeping things, and the fowl of the heavens, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days.
Rough stuff. That was a rough day. But once again, as always, the safe side is to be on Yahuah's side, keeping his commandments, which these people would not hearken to. Let's talk about chapter 7. So, one thing that really, that stands out here is, and we don't really get a whole lot in the 66 book canon, even in the Torah, is that the patriarchs of old, prior to Moshe, that there was a Torah, that they kept the Torah, they knew the Torah. It says, of clean beasts, of clean beasts and unclean beasts. Well, you don't know what's clean or unclean without the instructions, which that's all the Torah means, is instructions. Without the instructions of the Most High, you don't know what's clean and what's not clean. That's Torah, right there. So, here's another example, Genesis 26:5. The other passage in Genesis 15 where it says that he believed Elohim and it was counted to him for righteousness. But a lot of people forget this. Genesis 26:5, because that Abraham obeyed my voice, which is the same thing he told the people at Mount Sinai, Exodus 19:5 and 6, which is to obey my voice. You'll be a peculiar people. You'll be a treasured possession. You'll be a royal priesthood. So because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my Torah. This is actually the very first time the word Torah is used in the Torah. But yeah, this word right here is Torah. And so it says he kept his Torah. So if there was no Torah beforehand, how is he keeping his Torah? Let's read some of the Jasher account. This gets really interesting. Jasher chapter 6, we're going to read verses 1 through 27. At that time, after the death of Methuselah, Yahuah said to Noah, "Go thou with thy household into the ark. Behold, I will gather," he says, "I will gather to you all the animals." Because a lot of people ask, how did Noah go out and get giraffes? And how did he get hyenas? And how did he get lizards? And how did he get the snakes? And how did he do all that, right? Sure, maybe with enough time, he could, do it like a treasure hunt and find. Listen to this. Listen how Yahuah did it. "Behold, I will gather to you all the animals of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and they shall all come and surround the ark. And thou shalt go and seat thyself by the doors of the ark, and all the beasts, the animals, and the fowls shall assemble and place themselves before you. And as such of them that shall come and crouch before you, shalt thou take and deliver into the hands of thy sons, who shall bring them into the ark. And all that will stand before you, you shall leave." So the animals had to come and humble themselves before Noah, and then they were allowed to enter. "And Yahuah brought this about on the next day, and animals, beasts, and fowls came in great multitudes and surrounded the ark." What a sight that would be. "And Noah went and seated himself by the door of the ark, and of all the flesh that crouched before him, he brought into the ark, and all that stood before him he left upon the earth." Listen to this story. "And a lioness came with her 2 whelps, male and female, and the 3 crouched before Noah. And the 2 whelps rose up against the lioness and smote her and made her flee from her place. And she went away, and they returned to their places and crouched upon the earth before Noah. And the lioness ran away and stood in the place of the lions. And Noah saw this and wondered greatly. And he rose and took the 2 whelps and brought them into the ark. And Noah brought into the ark from all living creatures that were upon the earth, so that there was none left but which Noah brought into the ark. 2 and 2 came to Noah into the ark, but from the clean animals and clean fowls he brought 7 couples, as Elohim commanded him. And all the animals and beasts and fowls were still there, and they surrounded the ark at every place, and the rain had not descended till 7 days after. And on that day Yahuah caused the whole earth to shake, and the sun darkened, and the foundations of the world raged, and the whole earth was moved violently. And lightning flashed, and the thunder roared, and all the fountains in the earth were broken up, such as was not known to the inhabitants before. And Elohim did this mighty act in order to terrify the sons of men, that there might be no more evil upon the earth. And still the sons of men would not return from their evil ways. And they increased the anger of Yahuah at that time, and did not even direct their hearts to all this. Those of you that were with us in the Revelation study earlier, we saw that they just like the heart of Pharaoh, no matter how many plagues came, hearts were hardened, and they would not hearken to the voice of the Most High. And at the end of 7 days, in the 600th year of the life of Noah, the waters of the flood were upon the earth. And all the fountains of the deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And Noah and his household and all the living creatures that were with him came into the ark on account of the waters of the flood, and Yahuah shut him in. And all the sons of men that were left upon the earth became exhausted through evil on the account of the rain, for the waters were coming more violently upon the earth, and the animals and beasts were still surrounding the ark. And the sons of men assembled together, about 700,000 men and women. They came unto Noah to the ark, and they called to Noah, saying, "Open for us, that we may come into you into the ark, and wherefore shall we die?" And Noah with a loud voice answered them from the ark, saying, "Have you not all rebelled against Yahuah, and said that he does not exist? And therefore Yahuah brought upon you this evil, to destroy and cut you off from the face of the earth. Is not this the thing that I spoke of you 120 years back, and you would not hearken to the voice of Yahuah? And now do you desire to live upon the earth?" And they said to Noah, "We are ready to return to Yahuah. Only open for us, that we may live and not die." And Noah answered them, saying, "Behold, now that you see the trouble of your souls, you wish to return to Yahuah. Why did you not return during these 120 years which Yahuah granted you as the determined period? But now you come and tell me on this account of the troubles of your souls. Now also Yahuah will not listen to you, neither will he give ear to you on this day, so that you will not now succeed in your wishes." And the sons of men approached in order to break into the ark to come in on account of the rain, for they could not bear the rain upon them. And Yahuah sent all the beasts and animals that stood round the ark, and the beasts overpowered them and drove them from that place, and every man went his way, and they again scattered themselves upon the face of the earth. And the rain was still descending upon the earth, and it descended 40 days and 40 nights, and the waters prevailed greatly upon the earth, and all flesh that was upon the earth or in the waters died. Whether men, animals, beasts, creeping things, or birds in the air, there only remained Noah and those that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed, and they greatly increased upon the earth, and they lifted up the ark, and it was raised from the earth. A couple other things about chapter 7. The Targum reads, And the word of Yahuah covered over the door of the ark upon the face thereof. So it's interesting that, this Aramaic translation that has rabbinic, commentary, like that version, it says the word of Yahuah. That's Messiah. Messiah is written in that version that it said that he is the one that shut the door of the ark, and yet these rabbis are so blind to it. Peter likens the ark/flood into baptism, 1 Peter 3:20-22, which sometimes were a disobedient one once the long-suffering of Elohim waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was a preparing, wherein few, that is, 8 souls, were saved by water. The like figure whereunto even baptism doth also now save us. Not the putting away the filth of the flesh, not like taking a shower, but the answer of a good conscience towards Elohim by the resurrection of Yahusha HaMashiach, who is gone into heaven and is on the right hand of Elohim, angels and authorities and powers being made subject unto him. Amen. And let's see. Anyways, this is a good read. I'm not going to, just to save some time. This is Enoch chapter 50, 60, 70, 80, 89, chapter 89. This is a prophecy in the book of Enoch about the whole flood. Read that, maybe some of your own study time after this is over, or later tonight or tomorrow. The windows of heaven, it's interesting that Enoch saw these windows of heaven and explained them. Enoch 77, 1-5, at the ends of the earth I saw 12 portals open to all the quarters of heaven. That's your windows of heaven, from which the winds go forth and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face, i.e. the east of the heavens, and 3 on the west, 3 on the right, i.e. the south, and of the heaven, and 3 on the left. And the 3 first of those on the east, actually, we don't really need that. Anyways, this is just saying that he saw those 12 portals, and what we understand, there's 12 portals above and 12 fountains down below. Another Enoch 54, 7-10. And in those days shall the punishment come from Yahuah Sabaoth, and he will open all the chambers of waters which are above the heavens, and the fountains which are beneath the earth, and all the waters shall be joined with the waters, that which is above the heavens, and that which is masculine, and the water which is beneath the earth is feminine. And they shall destroy, this is a prophecy of the flood, by the way, all who dwell on the earth, and those who dwell under the ends of the heaven. And when they have recognized their unrighteousness, which they have wrought on the earth, then by these shall they perish. So, quite frankly, what that describes, this does not work on a spinning ball. This is more than likely what makes a lot more sense. So, like, if there's 12 fountains situated throughout the earth, and there's 12 portals, it's like a fishbowl, if you will, and the waters would literally fill it up. So the ark just lifted up, right? That doesn't work on. Here we go. It's something like this, right? So imagine there's windows, there's water above, and it's draining the water in here, and there's the fountains below, and there's water beneath, and it comes up from here. So it's literally like filling up this water bowl, or fish bowl, if you will, as opposed to, how does that work on this thing? How does a flood work on this thing? Let alone how does water stick to a ball that's spinning apparently 1,000 miles an hour? You go on a merry-go-round, and some people are ready to puke, but supposedly we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. It just doesn't work. A worldwide flood doesn't work on this thing right here, but certainly the something like this, a woodwork. That's how you can get water to fill up. To Ezra chapter 4. Then the angel that had been sent to me, whose name was Uriel, answered and said to me, "Your understanding has utterly failed regarding this world, and do you think that you can comprehend the way of the Most High?" Then I said, "Yes, my Adonai." He replied to me, "I have been sent to show you 3 ways, and to put before you 3 problems. If you can solve one of them for me, I will also show you the way you desire to see, and I will teach you why the heart is evil." I said, "Speak on, my Lord." He said to me, "Go away from me the weight of fire, or measure for me a measure of wind, or call back from me the day that is past." I answered and said, "Who of those that have been born can do this, that you ask me concerning these things?" He said to me, "If I have asked you how many dwellings are in the heart of the sea, or how many streams are at the source of the deep, or how many streams are above the firmament, or which are the exits of hell, or which are the entrances of paradise, perhaps you have said to me, I never went down into the deep, nor yet into hell, neither did I ever ascend into heaven." Anyways, so yeah, so it's basically just, it's kind of showing this from a different angle and just different language, that there are streams above the firmament. And again, that's what we're talking about here, this firmament, that there's streams above the firmament. Just a moment. Okay. And this is the ancient Hebrew cosmology. You can see, let's see if I can see. Here we go. So you've got the foundations of heaven. This is the pillars of the firmament. And see, like these are like signifying, like, the windows of heaven, letting the waters come down, and the waters below kind of fill this area up here. All right, and then and of course, Genesis 1:7, what we read last week, said, "And Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so." Again, this does not happen with a heliocentric model, with a globular Earth, spinning through, hurling through infinite space at 66,000 miles an hour, breakneck speed, and twisting or turning on its axis at 1,000 miles an hour. It just doesn't work at all. Praise Yah for opening our understanding these last days, and standing, and as we spoke about in week 1, standing for biblical cosmology is standing for the truth, standing for Torah. So no matter how many messages or emails I get from you saying, "Stop talking about it," I can't. I'm going to stand up for Torah. So anyways, so we're going to keep going. Got a lot to cover. So we're going to go over chapter 8 now. And here we go.
Bereshith, Genesis chapter 8. And Elohim remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And Elohim made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. And the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. And he sent forth a raven, which went to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. Also he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him into the ark. For the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand and took her, and pulled her in unto him into the ark. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came in to him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him any more. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, in the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dried. And Elohim spoke unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark, you and your woman, and your sons woman with you. Bring forth with you every living thing that is with you, of all flesh, both of fowl, and of cattle, and of creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his woman, and his sons' women with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creeps upon the earth after their kinds, went forth out of the ark. And Noah built an altar unto Yahuah, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Yahuah smelled a sweet savor. And Yahuah said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time, and harvest, and cold, and heat, and summer, and winter, and day and night shall not cease.
Boy, oh boy, could you imagine? Can you imagine what that sight was with all those animals coming off the ship, and then just being like, we're out of here. See ya. And the other thing is, talking about the Torah being around. I mean, how did Noah know how to build an altar and burn sacrifices on that? We also talked about that last week with Cain and Abel. How did they know how to sacrifice? Why were they even sacrificing? Right? Just some things to consider. This last verse here, it says, while earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. It's just absolutely amazing, which, by the way, it's so funny. I mean, I'm still a pretty young guy. How old am I? I'm 38, and in 38 years, I still get amazed and still get caught off guard. Like, every time it changes from summer to fall, I'm like, wow. Like I was expecting it to stay summer for the rest of my life, Like, and it's like so cold, like, cause it's been 80 degrees around here for a while, and then just today it's like 40 degrees. We're like, wow, it's it feels like winter, and it's amazing how he has kept faith with the world, how his creation is so amazing, and what he's created that it remains that way. But that passage reminded me about Jeremiah 31:35-37, which also fits into biblical cosmology. Jeremiah 31:35-37, thus saith Yahuah, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. Yahuah Sevaot is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith Yahuah, then the seed of Yisrael also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus saith Yahuah, if heaven above can be measured, which, again, if you believe what they say about the space program and that we actually leave the firmament and go fly up in this, in space, they'd be able to measure it. And he's saying, if heaven above can be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith Yahuah, which he won't. He said he would never do. So basically he's saying it's impossible. It's impossible, he's saying, to measure above and the foundations of the earth beneath, which, by the way, we've only dug like 8 miles down deep in the ground, and who knows how deep it is, right? Any case. So, anyways, this is just, it started off by talking about the steadfastness of the commands and the creation of Elohim. And we should be like his creation, which is to be steadfast in what we're prescribed to do. And what are we prescribed to do? Which is to keep his ways and stand stiffly for his name's sake, for his Torah, his commands, his right rulings, his justice, his mercy, all of it. And so now we're going to pick back up at Jasher, where we left off, verse 28 through 42. And the ark floated upon the face of the waters, and it was tossed upon the waters, so that all the living creatures within were turned about like pottage in a cauldron. And great anxiety seized all the living creatures that were in the ark, and the ark was like to be broken. And all the living creatures that were in the ark were terrified, and the lions roared, and the oxen lowed, and the wolves howled, and every living creature in the ark spoke and lamented in its own language, so that their voices reached to a great distance. And Noah and his sons cried and wept in their troubles, and they were greatly afraid that they had reached the gates of death. I mean, I imagine that would be really troubling to hear all those noises. And Noah prayed unto Yahuah and cried unto him on account of this. And he said, O Yahuah, help us, for we have no strength to bear this evil that has encompassed us. For the waves of the waters have surrounded us. Mischievous torrents have terrified us. The snares of death have come before us. Answer us, O Yahuah, answer us. Light up thy countenance toward us, and be gracious to us. Redeem us and deliver us. And Yahuah hearkened to the voice of Noah, and Yahuah remembered him. And the same thing happened or the same word was used in Genesis 8 earlier. It said, and Yahuah remembered him. The Hebrew word is zakar, and zakar isn't like, oh, I forgot Noah, and now I just remembered him. Come on, it's like, this is like, a major event in history. It wasn't like he did the flood and he like went off and, played chess, for, a year and forgot about Noah. And I was like, oh man, I forgot about Noah and now I remember him. Well, zakar is more than just like, oh, I forgot and I remember. It's to bring to remembrance. It's to come into mind. It's to, I don't know how else to explain it, but and a wind passed over the earth, and the waters were still, and the ark rested, and the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was. By the way, I don't know if Yah would actually play chess or not. It's probably a very secular game, so forgive me for making that reference. I shouldn't be silly. I'm just saying. I was just saying that to say, like he wasn't just like busy doing something up in heaven and forgot them. And the fountains of the deep and of the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters decreased in those days, and the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. And Noah then opened the windows of the ark, and Noah called out to Yahuah at that time and said, O Yahuah, who didst form the earth and the heavens and all that are therein, bring forth our soul. Which, by the way, for those of you that were with us last week, remember how we talked about how we should be declaring Yahuah the creator of all things, and in remembering the works of his hand and the majesty of what he's created. What did Noah do, right? O Yahuah, who didst form the earth and the heavens and all that are therein, bring forth our souls from this confinement and from the prison wherein thou hast placed us, for I am much wearied with sighing. And Yahuah hearkened to the voice of Noah and said to him, when thou shalt have completed a full year, thou shalt then go forth. And at the revolution of the year, when a full year was completed, to Noah's dwelling, how far was I supposed to read? Yeah, to 42. Dwelling in the ark, the waters were dried out from the earth, and Noah put off the covering of the ark. And at that time, on the 27th day of the second month, the earth was dry, but Noah and his sons and those that were with him did not go out from the ark until Yahuah told them. And the day came that Yahuah told them to go out. And they all went out from the ark, and they went and returned every one to his way and to his place. Noah and his sons dwelt in the land that Elohim had told them, and they served Yahuah all their days. And Yahuah blessed Noah and his sons on their going out from the ark. And he said to them, be fruitful and fill the earth, and become strong and increase abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. This is a commandment, right? Praise Yah for that commandment. So let's also take a look at Jubilees chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. And on the new moon of the third month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mountain, and he made atonement for the earth. Right? So again, without Torah, how does this work? And he took a kid and made an atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth, just like the Day of Atonement, right? Taking the goat. For everything that had been on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox and a goat and a sheep and kids and salt and a turtle dove and the young of a dove. I mean, this is all Torah right here. And placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and strewed frankincense over everything. This is the same thing we read about in Leviticus about how to do these sacrifices. And caused a goodly savor to arise, acceptable before Yahuah. And Yahuah smelled the goodly savor, and he cut a covenant with him, that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, should never cease, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. And another interesting note here, in the Targum it reads, and Noah builded the altar before Yahuah, that altar which Adam had builded in the time when he was cast forth from the Garden of Eden, and had offered an oblation upon it, and upon it Cain and Havel offered their oblations. But when the waters of the deluge descended, it was destroyed, and Noah rebuilded it. So that again was in the Aramaic version, the Targums. So pretty interesting. Let's see how long this is. This is the first book of Adam and Eve. Yeah, it's not too long. Okay. This is the first book of Adam and Eve. And again, for those of you that are skeptical about this book, myself and Justin Best from Christian Truthers, we did a full line-by-line study of this book. And what I believe we did was we showed it to be a legitimate book without contradictions. Chapter 20, there are some, of course, some translational things that were in error, but, the book of Acts, verse 20, verse 7 has led millions astray from the Sabbath by its incorrect, interpretation, translation, excuse me. So, first book of Adam and Eve, I do not believe the second book of Adam and Eve is legit, but I do believe the first one is. Chapter 23. Then Adam wept more and said, O Elohim, have mercy on me, so far as to take upon you that which I will do. But Elohim took his word from Adam and Eve, which this was, Yahusha is all over this. Then Adam and Eve stood on their feet and Adam said to Eve, gird thyself, and I also will gird myself. And she girded herself, as Adam told her. Then Adam and Eve took stones and placed them in the shape of an altar, and they took leaves from the trees outside the garden, with which they wiped from the face of the rock the blood they had spilled. But that which had dropped on the sand they took together with the dust wherewith it was mingled, and offered it upon the altar as an offering unto Elohim. Then Adam and Eve stood under the altar and wept thus, entreating Elohim, forgive us of our trespass and our sin, and look upon us with thine eye of mercy. For when we were in the garden, our praises and our hymns went up before you without ceasing. But when we came into the strange land, pure praise was no longer ours, nor righteous prayer, nor understanding hearts, nor sweet thoughts, nor just counsels, nor long discernment, nor upright feelings. Neither is our bright nature left us, but our body is changed from the similitude in which was at first when we were created. Now look upon our blood which is offered upon these stones, and accepted at our hands, like the praise we used to sing into you at the first when in the garden. And Adam began to make more requests unto Elohim. Then the merciful Elohim, good and lover of men, looked upon Adam and Eve and upon their blood, which they had held up as an offering unto him, without an order from him for so doing. But he wondered at them and accepted their offerings. And Elohim sent from his presence a bright fire that consumed their offering. He smelled the sweet savor of their offering and showed them mercy. Then came the word of Elohim to Adam. So Messiah came and said unto him, O Adam, as thou hast shed thy blood, so will I shed my own blood when I become flesh of thy seed. And as thou didst die, O Adam, so also will I die. And as thou didst build an altar, so also will I make for thee an altar on the earth. And as thou didst offer thy blood upon it, so also will I offer my blood upon an altar on the earth. Such amazing messianic prophecy. And as thou didst sue for forgiveness through that blood, so also will I make my blood forgiveness of sins, and blot out transgressions in it. And now, behold, I have accepted thy offering, O Adam. But in the days of the covenant where I have bound thee are not fulfilled. When they are fulfilled, then I will bring you back into the garden. Now therefore strengthen thy heart, and when sorrow comes upon you, make me an offering, and I will be favorable to you. Anyways, okay, we'll stop there. Anyway, so that's just a little taste. Amazing book. It's just such a good book, and anyways, all right. So let's go to chapter 9.
Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 9. And Elohim blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moves upon the earth, and upon all the fish of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things. But flesh, with the life thereof, which is in the blood thereof, shall you not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. And at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man. And you, be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. And Elohim spoke unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. And Elohim said, This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that my bow shall be seen in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between Elohim and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And Elohim said unto Noah, This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem, and Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment, and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine, and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, Blessed be Yahuah Elohiym of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Elohim shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. And all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died.
Okay. So a couple things that I want to talk about here in chapter 9 is, it says, what was it, verse 3? It says, every moving thing that lives shall be meat for you. And, some people have taken this and you say this one verse, out overshadows everything that the Torah else says elsewhere. You've got, Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14, which literally line by line tells us what we can eat and what we can't eat. But what is also interesting about this is it's not really the context of every moving thing. This word here, moving thing, remes, is the creeping thing, which, some people have defined as reptiles, which is weird because, in some of the other passages it says the fowl of the air, the fish in the sea, the beasts of the earth, and the creeping things. So the creeping thing isn't necessarily the beasts of the earth. So some would say it's your four-footed beasts, but not necessarily so. It's right here it says to animals, to creeping things, and to birds. So this is like its own little category here. So some people say that this is a amphibious reptile. In the Strong's removing thing. Yeah, like right here, from H7430, a reptile or any other rapidly moving animal that creeping things. Right here, a reptile, often whatever creeps upon the ground, once used of aquatic animals. So, it's interesting, but certainly I don't believe that this one verse, kind of outdoes the rest of scriptures, what tells us that, we are not to eat just anything that we see. And I looked at all the different versions, and I didn't find anything else different. So it's just an interesting passage. But certainly we know better than everything that moves we're not supposed to eat. If that was the case, just have fun eating rats and whatever nasty thing that your little eyes you put your little peepers on. I don't think that's the right thing to do, but just something to talk about. So the rainbow is interesting, right? So Revelation 10:1, and I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow upon his head, and his face was as the sun. Now you know who it's talking about, and his feet as pillars of fire. So Yahusha comes down with a rainbow over his head, right? So another sign of the covenant. Pretty cool. So let's read Jubilees 10:27-34, and because let's see. We'll talk about the cursing of Canaan. So it's kind of interesting, right? So you've got Noah drinking wine, which goes to show you that drinking wine doesn't make you an unrighteous person. But so he was in his tent. Some people say that they saw the nakedness of their father, because yes, there's something in the Torah that says if you sleep with your mother, you're uncovering the nakedness of your father. But I think this one is exactly what it says. It says that he was uncovered. He drank wine and he was uncovered within his tent. And so I literally believe he was just literally just laying in his tent, just naked. And so you've got Ham, who sees it and was like, bros, come check out Dad. He is totally naked in his tent. Let's point at him and laugh at him. And Shem and Japheth are just like, no way. We're not going to see the nakedness of our father. So they went backwards and they covered him. But what's interesting about this is when Noah wakes up, he should curse Ham. He's like, you should curse, because you saw me naked. But he doesn't. He curses his son. Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. Let's take a look why he's cursing, because what Noah is actually doing is he's prophesying. I'll show you why. So Jubilees 10:27-34. In the 4th week, in the 1st year, in the beginning thereof, in the 4th and 30th Jubilee, they were dispersed from the land of Shinar. And Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, which was basically Africa, which he acquired as his possession in the land of the south. Africa. And Canaan, or Canaan, saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Mitzrayim, so from Egypt up to Lebanon, that it was very good, and he went not into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is to the sea, and he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of the Yarden, from the border of the sea. So basically, the land of Israel. And And Ham his father, and Cush and Mitzrayim his brother, said unto him, You have settled in a land which is not yours, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so, for if you do so, you and your sons will fall in the land and be accursed through sedition. For by sedition have ye settled, and by sedition will your children fall, and you shall be rooted out forever. Dwell not in the dwelling of Shem, for to Shem and to his sons did it come by their lot. Cursed are you, and cursed shall you be beyond all the sons of Noah, by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the holy judge, and in the presence of Noah and our father. Which this is earlier, a couple chapters earlier, where they swore to Noah that the inheritance that fell them by lot, that they would go and inherit that land. And so Canaan's like, yeah, right, I'm staying in this land. It looks nice. But he did not hearken unto them, and dwelt in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the entering of Mitzrayim, he and his sons until this day. And for this reason the land is named Canaan or Canaan. So Noah was essentially prophesying that Canaan would be cursed. At least that's how I understand it at this point. Let's see here. Oh, there's more in Jubilees I wanted to read. Oops. Jubilees. We're going to read Jubilees chapter 7, 20 through 24. And this is just goes to show us a little more that the Torah was around before Mount Sinai. And in the this is Jubilees 7, verse 20 through 24. And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to enjoin upon his sons the ordinances and commandments and all the judgments that he knew, the Torah. And he exhorted his sons to observe righteousness, and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and to honor father and mother, and to love their neighbor, and to guard their souls from fornication and uncleanness and all iniquity. What does that sound like? It sounds like Torah. For owing to these three things came the flood upon the earth, namely, owing to the fornication, wherein the watchers against the Torah of their ordinances went a whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves women of all which they chose, and they made the beginning of uncleanness. And they begat sons, the Nephilim, and they were all unlike, and they devoured one another. And the giants slew the Nephil, and the Nephil slew the Elio, and the Elio mankind, and one man another. And everyone sold himself to work iniquity, and to shed much blood, and the earth was filled with iniquity. And after this they sinned against the beasts and birds and all that moves and walks on the earth, and much blood was shed on the earth. And every imagination and desire of men imagined vanity and evil continually. Whew. Let's look at another passage in chapter 10. We're basically we're packing in some more Noah stuff before we jump out of go to chapter 10, which we go past the death of Noah. So Jubilees 1 through 17. This is an interesting passage. And in the third week of this Jubilee, the unclean devils began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make to err and to destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the devils which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons. And he prayed before Yahuah Elohiym and said, Elohim of the Ruachot, the spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me, and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has not caused me to perish as you did the sons of perdition. For your grace has been great towards me, and great has been your mercy to my soul. Let your grace be lifted up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits, Ruachot, rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But do you bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And you know how your watchers, the fathers of these spirits, the Ruachot, acted in my day. And as for these Ruachot which are living, imprison them, and hold them fast in the place of condemnation, and let them not bring destruction on the sons of your servant, my Elohim, for these are malignant and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the Ruachot of the living, for you alone can exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and forevermore. And Yahuah Elohiym bade us, which, by the way, the whole book of Jubilees is written from an angel's perspective, so this us is angels. And Yahuah Elohiym bade us, the angels, to bind all. And the chief of the Ruachot, Mastema, this is another word for Satan, or Samael, or Azazel, Mastema came and said, Yahuah, Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment. For great is the wickedness of the sons of men. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. So literally what just happened is you had a court proceeding, essentially. You had Noah petitioning as like the plaintiff, right? He's complaining that the evil spirits, which are the spirits that departed from the giants, that these are the ones that are leading astray men and attacking and doing battle. And he's like, send them away, send them to the place of condemnation. And Yahuah was like, all right. I hear you. And then, the defendant, Mastema, is like, well, hang on a second. If you have all of them go down into Sheol, how am I going to do what I'm supposed to do? Which Satan's job is to lead people astray. He's a tester. I mean, quite frankly, we saw that with Job. Yahuah allowed Satan to tempt or to test Job to see if he would, curse Elohim. Satan is the tempter for all of us. He is the one that is charged with leading astray the sons of men. And so basically he's saying, leave at least 1/10 of them for me that I can, do my job. Which, I've said this before. No, I'm not really teaching this, but like any of you that have seen Willy Wonka, the old one, if you remember Slugworth he actually worked ended up working for Willy Wonka, but he was to go out as like the enemy and basically tempted all the little children with, hey, if you get me the everlasting gobstopper, I'll give you whatever money. And anyways, all I'm saying is that I hate making secular references. I don't even know why I made that, but Satan, he is the tempter, he is the tester, he is the he's the the prosecuting attorney, right? He's the prosecutor, and Yahuah is the judge. Yahusha is like the our defense attorney. Anyway, it's just some things to consider. But anyway, so that's what's just happened here. And one of us, he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness. So again, this is us as the angels. So the angels were commanded to teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness nor strive in righteousness. And we did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation, and 1/10 part of them we left, that they might be subject before Satan on the earth. So we just saw that Mastema is Satan. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions, how he might heal them with the herbs of the earth. And this is what we were talking about last week in week 1. Some of you had some strong words against what I was saying and what I was in favor for. I'm in favor of the herbs of the earth, regardless of what mainstream media has talked about it, regardless of what Hollywood did, to certain things like cannabis, like with Reefer Madness and those movies. I mean, go watch Reefer Madness and you'll see exactly where the demonization of one of the herbs of the earth started from. So, but again, like I'm going to stick up for biblical cosmology. I'm going to stick up for Torah, which is, he said that all herbs are for the use of man. Some of you are like, well, what about poison ivy? Go look up what kind of medicinal things you can use with poison ivy. You'll be amazed that literally almost everything, even the thistles, like things like milk thistle, can be used for the healing of the body. So yeah, I stand for the herbs of the earth. And Noah wrote down all things in a sefer as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil ruachot were precluded from the hurting of the sons of Noah. And he gave all that he had written to Shem. Like, man, I'd love to get this book, right? His eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. And Noah slept with his fathers and was buried on Mount Lubar. Yeah. We'll stop there. Okay, so anyways, so I thought that was an interesting little piece to Noah. And one more thing, the birth of Noah was absolutely a spectacle. So check this out. This is Enoch chapter 106. And after some days, my son Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him and bore a son. and his body was white as snow and red as the blooming of a rose, and the hair of his head and his long locks were white as wool, not the texture of wool, but white as wool, and his eyes beautiful. And when he opened his eyes, he lighted up the whole house like the sun, and the whole house was very bright. I think there's some similar things for Moshe. And thereupon he arose in the hands of the midwife, opened his mouth, and conversed with Yahuah of righteousness. And his father Lamech was afraid of him, and fled, and came to his father Methuselah. And he said unto him, I have begotten a strange son, diverse and from unlike man, and resembling the sons of Elohim of heaven. And his nature is different, and he is not like us, and his eyes are as the rays of the sun, and his countenance is glorious. And it seems to me that he has not sprung from me, but from the angels. And I fear that in his days a wonder may be wrought on the earth. And now, my father, I am here to petition to you and to implore you that thou mayest go to Enoch, our father, and learn from him the truth, for his dwelling place is among the angels. Anyways. So it just repeats that, but yeah, that he ends up saying, yeah, that is your son. Anyways, so yeah, Noah had a pretty interesting birth. So he spoke when he was born. He literally had eyes that lit up the room. Said his body was whiter than snow and had good old rosy red cheeks and blonde or white curly hair. So anyways, just I thought that was kind of interesting. So let's go to Genesis 10. And all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. All right, so let's go to chapter 10. And we get some generations going.
Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 10. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Yavan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tirak. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarma. And the sons of Yavan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the other nations divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Kafta, and Ra'amah, and Kafteka. And the sons of Ra'amah, Sheva, and Dedan. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a giant and a hunter in the earth. He was a giant and a hunter before Yahuah. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the giant hunter before Yahuah. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Ashur, and built Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Kelach. And Resen between Nineveh and Kelach, the same as a great city. And Mitzrayim begat Ludim, and Anamim, and Lechavim, and Naphtuchim, and Pathrusim, and Kalkuchim, out of whom came Pelishtim, and Kaphtorim. And Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth. And the Yevusi, and the Emori, and the Girgashi, and the Chivi, and the Arki, and the Sini, and the Aravi, and the Tsemari, and the Hamathi, and afterward were the families of the Canaanim spread abroad. And the border of the Canaanim was from Sidon, as you come to Gerar, unto Gaza, as you go unto Sodom, and Amorah, and Admah, and Seboim, even unto Lasha. These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. And the children of Aram, Uts, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. And Arphaxad begat Shelach, and Shelach begat Eber, And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Yoktan. And Yoktan begot Almodad, and Shelef, and Chatzar Maveth, and Yerach, and Hadoram, and Uzal, and Dikla, and Oval, and Ophir, and Chavila, and Yovab. All these were the sons of Yoktan. And their dwelling was from Misha, as you go into Sephar, a mountain of the east. These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noach, after their generations, in their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood.
So, by the way, I forgot to mention. So what I'm playing for you from the Word audio, these are rough drafts. These are not finished, and I actually just caught a mistake, or I didn't. Somehow this got edited out or cut out, these 2 names. So, by the way, if was it Robert? I think it was Robert. He pointed out something that was missing last week, and so this is a good way to kind of do a quality assurance check. So if I miss a verse in the reading or something isn't right, let me know. Which, by the way, and we talked to Dr. Pigeon about this. Some of the words we felt led to translate differently, like the firmament. He's got the expanse. We told him we were pretty strong about the firmament and have some different understandings, and so he's totally cool with it. He just wants us to do footnotes, like, for example, the Nimrod. It says he was a warrior, but you look at the Hebrew word, it was the same word that was used for giant, and I do believe that Nimrod was a giant. So little things like that. But anyways, if you can help us, if you see anything, point out, just take a little note, and you can either email me or message me and let me know if I had missed something or whatnot. So, because we want this to be right. So let's just one quick little thing about Nimrod I want to read, and then we're going to go right on to chapter 11. We're going to read Jasher chapter 7, 23 through 30. And Cush, the son of Ham, the son of Noach, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bare a son, and they called his name Nimrod, saying, At that time the sons of men again began to rebel and transgress against Elohim. And the child grew up, and his father loved him exceedingly, for he was the son of his old age. And the garments of skin which Elohim made for Adam and his wife when they went out of the garden were given to Cush. Well, not really given, you'll see why. For after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared. And when Enoch was taken up to Elohim, he gave them to Methuselah his son. And at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them to the ark, and they were with him until he went out of the ark. And in their going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers. And when Ham begot his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret, and they were with Cush many days. And Cush also concealed them from his sons and brothers. And when Cush had begotten Nimrod, he gave him those garments through his love for him. And Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments. And Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments, and Elohim gave him might and strength, and he was a mighty hunter in the earth. Yea, he was a mighty hunter in the field, and he hunted the animals, and he built altars, and he offered upon them the animals before Yahuah. And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up from amongst his brethren. He fought all the battles of his brethren against all their enemies round about. Anyways, it keeps going, but this is, I believe that between the garments that he put on, that obviously had some powers, and we learned in the book of Jubilees that Canaan had found the secret writings of the Watchers, and I believe that possibly through maybe a mixture of drinking blood, these garments, and maybe the incantations from the Watchers, maybe Nimrod literally grew to be a giant. Just speculation, but I do believe that he actually was a giant. And I believe that that's how the giants got not resurrected, popped back up on the scene, if you will. Okay, so not a whole lot to talk about on the generations. So we'll keep going, and actually, give me a moment. I gotta do something really quickly. Give me just a second. Bear with me for just a moment. I've got to reload this file for chapter 11. The one I had, yeah, I just got to replace it real quick. So, who's in the chat? Shalom. Shalom, everyone. Sherry Stadel. Sokar. Yeah, people weren't born giants. Okay, let's see. Hang on.
Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 11. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto the heavens. Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 11. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto the heavens. And let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahuah came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And Yahuah said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So Yahuah scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because Yahuah did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did Yahuah scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begat Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years and begat sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 35 years and begat Shelach. And Arphaxad lived after he begat Shelach 403 years and begat sons and daughters. And Shelach lived 30 years and begat Eber. And Shelach lived after he begat Eber 403 years and begat sons and daughters. And Eber lived 34 years and begat Peleg. And Eber lived after he begat Peleg 430 years and begat sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years and begat Reu. And Peleg lived after he begat Reu 209 years and begat sons and daughters. And Reu lived 32 years and begat Serug. And Reu lived after he begat Serug 207 years and begat sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years and begat Nahor. And Serug lived after he begat Nahor 200 years and begat sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years and begat Terach. And Nahor lived after he begat Terach 119 years and begat sons and daughters. And Terach lived 70 years and begat Avram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terach. Terach begat Avram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begat Lot. And Haran died before his father Terach in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Kasdim. And Avram and Nahor took them women. The name of Avram's woman was Sarai, And the name of Nahor's woman, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Icha. But Sarai was barren, she had no child. And Terach took Avram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Avram's woman. And they went forth with them from Ur of the Kasdim, to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran, and dwelt there. And the days of Terach were 205 years. And Terach died in Haran.
Okay, so, man, there's so much I want to read about this, but it's getting, let's see, how long are we going? An hour and 35 minutes. I want to read you Jasher 7:43, and chapter 8, and chapter 9. It's such an amazing story. How do we do on time? An hour and 35. Okay, so let's read a couple other things and see where we shake up. So, the Targum reads, "And Yahuah said to the 70 angels which stand before him, Come, we will descend, and will there commingle their language, that a man shall not understand the speech of his neighbor. And the word of Yahuah was revealed against the city, and with him 70 angels, having reference to 70 nations, each having its own language, and thence the writing of its own hand. And he dispersed them from thence upon the face of the earth into 70 languages. And one knew not what his neighbor would say, but one slew the other, and they ceased from building the city. Therefore he called the name of it Babel, because there did Yahuah commingle the speech of all the inhabitants of the earth, and from thence did Yahuah disperse them upon all the faces of the earth." And so a pretty cool read in Jasher regarding the 70 languages is when Joseph was taken out of prison to interpret Pharaoh's dream. Check this out. There's a little more to the story. So we'll read 40 verses 40. This is Jasher chapter 48, verses 41 through 47. "And the servants of the king went to Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And the king's servants shaved him, and he changed his prison garments, and he came before the king. And the king was sitting upon his royal throne in a princely dress girt about with a golden ephod, and the fine gold which was upon it sparkled, and the carbuncle and the ruby and the emerald, together with all the precious stones that were upon the king's head, dazzled the eye. And Joseph wondered greatly at the king. And the throne upon which the king sat was covered with gold and silver and with onyx stones, and it had 70 steps. And it was their custom throughout the land of Egypt that every man who came to speak to the king, if he was a prince or one that was estimable in the sight of the king, he ascended to the king's throne as far as the 31st step, and the king would descend to the 36th step and speak with him. If he was one of the common people, he ascended to the 3rd step, and the king would descend to the 4th step and speak to him. And their custom was, moreover, that any man who understood to speak in all the 70 languages, he ascended the 70 steps and went up and spoke till he reached the king. And any man who could not complete the 70, he ascended as many steps as languages which he knew to speak in. And it was customary in those days in Egypt that no one should reign over them, but who understood to speak in the 70 languages. And when Joseph came before the king, he bowed down to the ground before the king, and he ascended to the 3rd step. And the king sat upon the 4th step and spoke with Joseph. Anyways, the story keeps going on, and the angels essentially give Joseph the understanding of all 70 languages, and Joseph ends up ascending the 70 steps, and that's also why he was allowed to be ruler in all of Egypt, and it's also why it wasn't just the interpretation of the dream, but it's also why Pharaoh was like, is there anyone wiser than this man? Because he literally, knew all the 70 languages. Let's see here. So a couple other things also. One thing that always kind of bothered me is, when Abraham says that Sarah is his sister, you're kind of like thinking to yourself, well, it's against Torah. It says you're not supposed to, marry your sister. have relations with your sister. And, you could be like, well, it was early in history and, maybe, God winked at that. I don't know. So a couple of things. Jasher plainly states that Sarah is his niece. The Targums actually confirm that. This is what the Targum reads. This is that same verse where Abraham says that she is his sister. But in truth, she is my sister, the daughter of my father's brother, but not of the kindred of my mother, and she became my wife. So, again, niece. Let's see. Here we go. Jasher 9, and Haran, the son of Terah, Abram's oldest brother, took a wife in those days. This is Jasher 9. And Haran is one of Abraham's brothers. Haran was 39 years old when he took her, and the wife of Haran conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Lot. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and she called her name Milcah. And she again conceived and bare a daughter, and called her name Sarah. Haran was 42 years old when he begot Sarai, which was in the 10th year of the life of Abram. In those days, Abram and his mother and a nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Abram. So, anyways, just wanted to point this out. This is an interesting point that Sarah is actually Abraham's niece, and not, which is lawful, and not his sister, which would be unlawful. So that's something that always bothered me. And it's here in Leviticus 18. It says, what's the NIV? Do not have sexual relations with the daughter of your father's wife, born to your father. She is your sister. Let's look at. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife's daughter, brought up in your father's family, since she is your sister. So that's like a big no-no. And so I was always like, well, why did Abraham, marry his sister? Which, I mean, I totally get, like, in the time of, Cain and Abel, I mean, who else are they going to marry? They had to marry their sisters. In the book of Adam and Eve, it said that Cain had a twin, which was a girl, and Abel had a twin, which was a girl, and, they married each other's sisters, not their own sister, not their own twin. So anyways, weird. But, like, again, in Abraham's day, there should have been plenty of women to choose from. So I was like, why? Why is that? So anyways, there is a huge story in Jasher. How long is it? Let's see. Chapter 7 is long. It's getting late. I might just read this for you guys as an addendum. Let's just read it. Let's just push through. All right, let's just do it. This is too good. We'll skip over here. We can read. I guess we'll start at Jasher 43 or 743. Okay, here we go. Oh, we don't need that. No, we got that. Shinar. Okay. And all the earth was of one tongue and in words of union, but Nimrod did not go in the ways of Yahuah, and he was more wicked than all the men that were before him from the days of the flood until those days. And he made gods of wood and stone, and he bowed down to them, and he rebelled against Yahuah, and taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways. And Mardon his son was more wicked than his father. And everyone that heard the acts of Mardon the son of Nimrod would say concerning him, From the wicked goeth forth wickedness. Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, From the wicked goeth forth wickedness. And it was current in the words of men from that time to this. And Terah the son of Nahor, prince of Nimrod's host, so Abraham's dad was one of Nimrod's princes, was in those days very great in the sight of the king and his subjects, and the king and princes loved him, and they elevated him very high. And Terah took a wife, and her name was Amthelo, the daughter of Cornebo, and the wife of Terah conceived and bare him a son in those days. Terah was 70 years old when he begot him, and Terah called the name of his son that was born to him Abram, because the king had raised him in those days and dignified him above all his princes that were with him. Chapter 8. And it was the night that Abram was born that all the servants of Terah and all the wise men of Nimrod and his conjurers came and ate and drank in the house of Terah, and they rejoiced with him on that night. And when all the wise men and conjurers went out from the house of Torah, they lifted up their eyes toward heaven that night to look at the stars. And they saw, and behold, one very large star came from the east and ran in the heavens, and he swallowed up 4 stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And all the wise men of the king and his conjurers were astonished at the sight, and the sages understood this matter, and they knew its import. They said to each other, "This only betokens the child that has been born to Torah this night, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, and he and his children forever, and he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their lands." And the wise men and conjurers went home that night, and in the morning these wise men and conjurers rose up early and assembled in an appointed house. And they spoke and said to each other, "Behold, the sight that we saw last night is hidden from the king. It has not been made known to him. And should this thing get known to the king in the latter days, he will say to us, 'Why have you concealed this matter from me?' Then we shall all suffer death therefore. Now let us go and tell the king the sight which he saw, and the interpretation thereof, and we shall then remain clear." So isn't it interesting that Yahusha was marked, his birth was marked by the signs in the heaven, by the stars, and so is Abraham. And they did so, and they all went to the king and bowed down to him to the ground, and they said, "May the king live, may the king live. We heard that a son was born to Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of thy host, and we yesternight came to this house, and we ate and drank and rejoiced with him all that night. And when thy servants went out from the house of Terah to go to our respective homes to abide there for the night, we lifted our eyes to heaven, and we saw a great star coming from the east." Right? What do the wise men say with Yahusha? We saw his star in the east. "And the same star ran with great speed and swallowed up 4 great stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And thy servants were astonished at the sight which we saw, and were greatly terrified. And we made our judgment upon the sight, and knew by our wisdom the proper interpretation thereof, that this thing applies to the child that is born to Terah, who will grow up and multiply greatly and become powerful, and kill all the kings of the earth and inherit all their lands, he and his seed forever. And now, our Lord and King, behold, we have truly acquainted thee with what we have seen concerning this child. If it seemeth good to the king to give his father value for this child, we will slay him before he shall grow up and increase in the land, and his evil increase against us, that we and our children perish through his evil." And the king heard their words, and they seemed good in his sight, and he sent and called for Terah. And Terah came before the king. And the king said to Terah, "I have been told that a young son was yesternight born to thee, and after this manner was observed in the heavens at his birth. And now therefore give me the child, that we may slay him before his evil springs up against us. And I will give you thee for his value, thy house full of silver and gold." And Terah answered the king and said to him, "My lord and king, I have heard thy words, and thy servant shall do all that his king desireth. But, my lord and king, I will tell you what happened to me yesternight, that I may see what advice the king will give his servant, and then I will answer the king upon what he has just spoken." And the king said, "Speak." And Terah said unto the king, "Ayon, son of Mored, came to me yesternight, saying, 'Give unto me the great and beautiful horse that the king gave you, and I will give you silver and gold and straw and provender for its value.' And I said to him, 'Wait till I see the king concerning thy words, and behold, whatever the king saith, that will I do.' And now, my lord and king, behold, I have made this thing known to you, and the advice with which my king will give unto his servant, that will I follow." And the king heard the words of Terah, and his anger was kindled, and he considered him in the light of a fool. And the king answered Terah and said to him, "Art thou so silly, ignorant, or deficient in understanding to do this thing, to give thy beautiful horse for silver and gold, or even straw and provender? Art thou so short of silver and gold that thou shouldst do this thing, because thou canst obtain straw and provender to feed thy horse? And what is silver and gold to you, or straw and provender, that you should give away that fine horse which I gave you, like which there is none to be had in the whole earth?" And the king left off speaking, and Terah answered the king, saying, "Like unto this has the king spoken to his servant. I beseech you, my lord and king, what is this which thou didst say unto me, saying, 'Give thy son that we may slay him, and I will give thee silver and gold for his value'? What shall I do with silver and gold after the death of my son? Who shall inherit me? Surely then at my death the silver and gold will return to my king who gave it." And when the king heard the words of Terah and the parable with which he brought concerning the king, it grieved him greatly, and he was vexed at this thing, and his anger burned within him. And Terah saw that the anger of the king was kindled against him. And he answered the king, saying, all that I have is in the king's power. Whatever the king desireth to do to his servant, let him do. Yea, even my son, he is in the king's power, without value in exchange, he and his 2 brothers that are older than he. And the king said to Terah, No, but I will purchase thy younger son for a price. And Terah answered the king, saying, I beseech you, my lord and king, to let thy servant speak a word before you, and let the king hear the word of his servant. And Terah said, Let my king give me 3 days' time till I consider this matter within myself, and consult with my family concerning the words of my king. And he pressed the king greatly to agree to this. And the king hearkened to Terah, and he did so, and he gave him 3 days' time. And Terah went out from the king's presence, and he came home to his family, and spoke to them all the words of the king, and the people were greatly afraid. And it was in the 3rd day that the king sent to Terah, saying, Send me thy son for a price, as I spoke to you. And thou shouldst, and shouldst thou not do this, I will send and slay all that you have in your house, so that you shall not even have a dog remaining. And Terah hastened, as the thing was urgent from the king, and he took a child from one of his servants, which his handmaid had borne to him that day. And Terah brought the child to the king, and received value for him. And Yahuah was with Terah in this matter, that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. And the king took the child from Terah with all his might, dashed his head to the ground, for he thought that it had been Abram. And this was concealed from him from that day, and it was forgotten by the king, as it was the will of the providence not to suffer Abram's death. And Terah took Abram his son secretly, together with his mother and nurse, and he concealed them in a cave, and he brought them their provisions monthly. And Yahuah was with Abram in the cave, and he grew up. And Abram was in the cave 10 years. And the king and his princes, soothsayers and sages, thought that the king had killed Abram. Chapter 9. And Haran, the son of Terah, Abram's oldest brother, took a wife in those days. Haran was 39. Oh, yeah, we just read this. Haran was 39 years old when he took her, and the wife of Haran conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Lot. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and she called her name Milcah. And she again conceived and bare a daughter, and she called her name Sarai. Haran was 42 years old when he begot Sarai, which was in the 10th year of the life of Abram. And in those days Abram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Abram. And when Abram came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instruction, the Torah of Yahuah, and his ways, and no man knew where Abram was. And Abram served Noah and Shem and his son for a long time. And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years. And Abram knew Yahuah from 3 years old, and he went in the ways of Yahuah until the day of his death, as Noah and his son Shem had taught him. And all the sons of the earth in those days greatly transgressed against Yahuah, and they rebelled against him, and they served other Elohim. And they forgot Yahuah, who had created them in the earth. And the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at that time every man his god, gods of wood and of stone, which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver. And the sons of men served them, and they became their gods. And the king and all his servants, and Terah with all his household, were then the first of those that served gods of wood and stone. And Terah had 12 gods of large size, made of wood and stone, after the 12 months of the year. And he served each one monthly, and every month Terah would bring his meat offering and drink offering to his gods. Thus did Terah all the days. And all that generation were wicked in the sight of Yahuah, and they thus made every man his god, but they forsook Yahuah, who had created them. And there was not a man found in those days in the whole earth who knew Yahuah, for they served each man his own Elohim, except Noah and his household, and all those who were under his counsel knew Yahuah in those days. And Abram the son of Terah was waxing great in those days in the house of Noah, and no man knew it, and Yahuah was with him. And Yahuah gave Abram an understanding heart, and he knew all the works of that generation were vain, and that all their gods were vain and were of no avail. And Abram saw the sun shining upon the earth, and Abram said unto himself, Surely now this sun that shines upon the earth is God, and him will I serve. And Abram served the sun in that day, and he prayed to him. And when evening came and the sun set as usual, Abram said within himself, Surely this cannot be God, this Elohim. And Abram still continued to speak within himself, Who is he who made all the heavens and the earth? Who created upon the earth? Where is he? And night darkened over him, and he lifted up his eyes toward the west, north, south, east, and he saw that the sun had vanished from the earth, and the day became dark. And Abram saw the stars and the moon before him, and he said, surely this is the Elohim who created the whole earth as well as man, and behold, these his servants are Elohim around him. And Abraham served the moon and prayed to it all night. And in the morning, when it was light, the sun shone upon the earth as usual, and Abraham saw all the things that Yahuah Elohiym had made upon the earth. And Abraham said unto himself, surely these are not gods that made the earth and all mankind, but these are the servants of Elohim. And Abraham remained in the house of Noah, and there knew Yahuah and his ways, and he served Yahuah all the days of his life. And all that generation forgot Yahuah, and served other Elohim of wood and stone, and rebelled all their days. And King Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth was under his control, and all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. And all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together, Phut, Mitzrayim, Cush, and Canaan, with their families. And they said to each other, come, let us build ourselves a city, and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven, and we will make ourselves famed, so that we may reign upon the whole world, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the earth on account of their wars. And they all went before the king, and they told the king these words. And the king agreed with them in this affair, and he did so. And all the families assembled, consisting of about 600,000 men, and they went to seek an extensive place of ground to build the city and the tower. And they sought in the whole earth, and they found none like the valley at the east of the land of Shinar. About 2 days' walk, and they journeyed there and dwelt there. And they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and the tower that they had imagined to complete. And the building of the tower was unto them a transgression and a sin, and they began to build it. And whilst they were building against Yahuah Elohiym of heaven, they imagined in their hearts to war against him and to ascend into heaven. And all these people and all the families divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, we will ascend into heaven and fight against him. The second said, we will ascend to heaven and place our own Elohim there and serve them. And the third part said, we will ascend into heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And Elohim knew all their wicked works and all their evil thoughts, and he saw the city and the tower they were building. And when they were building, they built themselves a great city and a very high tower and strong tower. On account of its height, the mortar and bricks did not reach the builders in their ascent into it until those who went up had completed a full year. And after that they reached to the builders and gave them the mortar and the bricks, and thus it was done daily. And behold, these ascended and others descended a whole day. And if a brick should fall from their hands and get broken, they would all weep over it. And if a man fell and died, none of them would look at him. And Yahuah knew their thoughts, and it came to pass when they were building that they cast arrows toward the heavens, and all the arrows fell upon them filled with blood. And when they saw them, they said to each other, surely we have slain all those that are in heaven. For this was from Yahuah in order to cause them to err, and in order to destroy them from off the face of the ground. And they built the tower and the city, and they did this thing daily until many days and years were elapsed. And Elohim said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. This totally is almost the exact same language as the Targums. And from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone which he did not order, the builder would cast away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die. And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. And Yahuah smote 3 divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, we will ascend to heaven and serve our Elohim, became like apes and elephants. Yeah, that just happened. You ever wonder why they're so smart, so intelligent, the apes and elephants? Like they can literally paint, Anyways, I believe this is true. I really believe this is true. Maybe it's why they look so human or seem so human. At least the apes do, It's also interesting that Rob Skiba did a little piece on this, that was a lot of the like Indian cultures, they serve an ape-like god, and they serve an elephant-like god, which is like half man, half ape, and half man, half elephants. It's kind of interesting, But yeah, I believe that's true. These are some of the things where people are like, yeah, right, this book of Jasher, it's a joke. I'm out of here. Well, hang on a second, right? Don't forget we had a talking donkey in the scriptures, right? And other what would seem like insane to people that don't believe in the scriptures, right? And those who said, we will smite the heaven with arrows, Yahuah killed them, one man through the hand of his neighbor. And the third division who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against them, Yahuah scattered them throughout the earth. And those who were left amongst them, they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them. They forsook the building, and they also became scattered upon the face of the whole earth. And they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore he called the place Babel, for Yahuah confounded the language of the whole earth. Behold, it was the east of Shinar. And as the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof, and a fire also descended from heaven and burned another third, and the other third is left to this day, and it is of that part which was aloft, and its circumference was 3 days' walk. That's how big this thing was. And many of the sons of men died in that tower, a people without number. So, let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Someone asked about the divisions they had in chapter 10. I'm not sure exactly what your question was, but it is interesting. We found this when we came across the Torah portion a few weeks ago in Deuteronomy 32, the Song of Moshe. That here we go, verse 8 in the Septuagint version, it reads differently. When the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the nations according to the number of the angels of Elohim. And this ties into what we're studying tonight, which is the 70 angels. And this helps us understand what was really going on in the book of Daniel when the angel came to him. But he said that the prince of Persia withstood him 21 days, and that the prince of Grecia was also involved, and then Michael had to get involved and fight him off. And you're like, what is that? How does that work? So as far as the earth being divided, he's the Most High is saying that they were separated according to the 70 angels of Elohim. The Masoretic says according to the number of the sons of God, sons of Elohim. But truly, this actually makes more sense according to the number of the angels of Elohim. And I believe it's the 70 angels that we read in Jasher that went down to confuse the languages, and the 70 angels that we saw in the Targums, which read the same thing. So, anyways, there's actually a lot more I want to read with Jasher, but we actually can wait till next week. It actually will tie in a little bit better with more about focus on Abraham. So that will conclude our Torah portion for tonight, brothers and sisters. I pray that it might have been a blessing for you, and maybe you learned something new. If you're leery about the books like Jasher and Jubilees, I invite you to study out for yourself. I've got a line by line study of Jubilees. Never did one on Jasher, but maybe in the future. But again, I feel led to stand up for these books. I do believe that they are the truth, and I believe that what appears to be contradictions, I think, are pretty explainable when you take in the whole thing, all the scriptures into perspective. But nevertheless, I feel like these books really enrich the Torah portions because it fills the holes. Because the Torah is kind of a brief summary of everything that went on. And truly, if everything would have been added in there, I mean, the books would have been 10, 15, 20, 100 times longer than they already are. And so I understand what Yahuah did here. But, for us studying and digging down, I think these books are an absolute blessing, and I hope you find that to be true as well. So, Heavenly Father, Yahuah, we just come before you in Yahusha's name, and again, we just thank you for just even giving us a heart that wants to keep your righteous Torah. We thank you for Messiah, for reconciling us back to you, and we just bless you for all things that you've done, all that you've created, and we know that your judgment is righteous, regardless of how we may understand or perceive it. We just know that your judgments are righteous, and we just thank you for truly all you do, for creating everything for us, and for being such a faithful and just Elohim. We love you and bless you in Yahusha's name. Amen. So, gonna sign off for now, brothers and sisters. Yahuah, I pray Yahuah blesses you. Let's do this. Let's do the blessing. Why don't we do it? Yevarechecha Yahuah ve'yishmerecha Ya'er Yahuah panav elecha v'chuneka Yisa Yahuah panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom. Yahuah bless you and keep you. Yahuah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuah lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. Brothers and sisters, we're gonna finish with the song of Moshe, and then we're gonna conclude this Torah portion. So don't be shy. The words will be on the screen. Sing it with me, and sing to Yahuah. Shabbat shalom.
I sing to Yahuah, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my El, and I praise him, Elohim of my father, and I exalt him. Yahuah is a man of battle, Yahuah is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea, and his chosen officers are drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths covered them, they went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahuah, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahuah, has crushed the enemy. And in the greatness of your excellence, you pulled down those who rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath, it consumed them like stubble. And with the wind of your nostrils, the waters were heaped up. The floods stood like a wall, the depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil, my being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword, my hand destroys them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them, they sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yahuah, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great in Kodeshah, awesome in praises, working wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your kindness, you led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength, you guided them to your Kodesh dwelling. Peoples heard, they trembled, anguish gripped the inhabitants. inhabitants of Pelasheth. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, the mighty men of Moab. Trembling grips them, all the inhabitants of Canaan melted. Fear and dread fell on them by the greatness of your arm. They are as silent as a stone. Until your people pass over, O Yahuwah. Until the people whom you have bought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahuwah, which you have made for your own dwelling, the Mikdash, O Yahuwah, which your hands have prepared. Yahuwah reigns forever and ever.